Hello, and welcome to today's training on cybersecurity. My name is Ryan, a senior systems engineer for Wright Technology Group, and I'm also a team lead with Wright Technology Group. Today's training is just a brief overview on the current technology and how to defend yourself from falling victim to hackers. Before beginning today's presentation, whenever I do a cybersecurity training, I do like to bring up a couple of items that fall under the cybersecurity umbrella, but are not technically part of training. They are, number one, we at Wright Technology always try to recommend enforcing a strict clean desk policy. Now, what that means is that if you are away from your computer, whether it be for the end of day, lunch, a break, whatever it might be, you should always lock your computer screen as you're leaving. If you punch in that Control-Alt-Delete and hit the Enter key, you have that ability to lock the computer. Also, a clean desk policy includes whenever you have what's known as private identifiable information, or PII, on your desk. If you are not in front of your desk, you should have it always filed away and locked away. Now, what is PII? Private identifiable information. If you don't know, that is any private information that is not for general use. So this may be a social security number, medical records, banking records, something as simple as a name with an address falls under the umbrella of PII. So we want to make sure that we're fully protecting that data. The second item is removable media. And when I say removable media, I mean flash drives, USBs, passports. If you find a USB or a flash drive around your office, in the parking lot, in your neighborhood, make sure that you're not plugging it into a computer. You're going to want to give it to an IT professional. They'll put it in a safe environment. They'll make sure it is legitimate. And if we can determine whose it is, it will be returned to that team or person. We do hear reports of bad actors walking around to a company's parking lot and dropping USBs just kind of in the parking lot, hoping that someone picks it up and plugs it into a computer. So we want to make sure that we're not doing that. So with that, we can go ahead and begin our cybersecurity training. Today we have 3 objectives. I want to detail current means that bad actors use to scam or hack users. I want to list some common tools that hackers use to try to trick you, and then some best practices for keeping yourself and your company safe. This information is as important at home as it is in the office, so feel free to make sure you're using this in your everyday life. So hackers will use a variety of avenues, what we call attack vectors, to try to steal personal information. Now, this is not a complete list, but these are the most important and really what to focus on. They are text phishing through smartphones, so that's a text message alert telling you to follow a link of some kind. Social media exploits, that includes LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. Phishing phone calls. Phishing phone calls, you'll more have at home than in the office, but they do still happen in the office, so be on the lookout. Applications within the Play or App Store. Compromised websites. This was more popular maybe 5 or 10 years ago, but we do still see them regularly, so it's something to look out for. And then the big one, phishing emails. Phishing emails is what keeps any IT person up all night. They account for up to 90% of every data breach. So we want to be very, very aware of who's sending us an email, how they're sending us an email, and have they sent it to us in this fashion before? And we'll go over that in detail. They do take up 90% of all data breaches, but we still have that other 10% to worry about, which are the rest of these attack vectors. So we want to go over a little bit of everything. So first we'll start some phishing phone calls. Like I said, this is more often at home than in the office that you'll have one of these, and they're usually kind of threatening in nature. It might be, NSTAR or National Grid is going to turn off your electricity at noon today, or some threatening calls from the IRS saying you need to pay them by the end of the business day, or they're going to send sheriffs to your house, things like that. Technical support calls. Usually this is someone claiming to be from Microsoft, and a recurring theme throughout this presentation will be Microsoft never, under any circumstances, will proactively reach out to you first. I don't care if it's email, if it's a phone call, if it's a text, they will not reach out to you first. It is always fake. If there's an issue with your Office account, your Office 365 account, you would have to submit a ticket and they would get back to you, not the other way around. Fake charity appeals, lottery scams. I'll skip over family members in peril for a second. Bank fraud calls, insurance healthcare scams, debt scams, website password resets, fake customer requests. All of these, if you think they may be legitimate in the case of, your healthcare provider you think might be calling you, or your bank is calling you, what we want to do is go to the website directly ourselves. Tell the person on the phone, hey, I don't feel comfortable giving out this information on the phone. I'm going to go to your website, or I'm going to find your number online and give the call center a call. We don't want to just give over information when someone else has initiated a call to us, because we don't really know if they're calling from where they claim to call from. I skip over family members in peril because there's a story that I'd like to tell. A few years ago, I was out of the country with my now wife. We were on vacation. While we were on vacation, someone, either knowing or not knowing, we have no way of knowing, called my great aunt and told her that, hey, it's me, Ryan. I've been arrested. I need you to wire me some bail money to get out. Luckily, my aunt was able to speak to another member of my family, and they said, no, he's on vacation, he's out of the country, he's living it up on the beach. Everything is okay. Hackers are hoping to find good-natured people who are willing to kind of just part with their money without doing too much investigating. So make sure that everyone in your life, especially those good-natured around you, are aware that this is very big business. They may get someone calling, claiming to be you, hoping that you'll wire them some money, buy them some gift cards. So whenever money is involved, make sure you and the people in your lives know that we should definitely call and confirm its legitimacy before we start involving money. Phishing through text. This is becoming more popular, especially as most of us try to streamline our own lives. Most of us will have signed up for FedEx alerts about our packages, or bank fraud text alerts, or a PayPal text alert, Apple sending you updates. Unfortunately, hackers know this, so they just send this stuff out to as many phone numbers as they can in the hopes that you will follow the links. So even if you have signed up for a service that allows for you to get text message alerting, we always recommend to not follow that link. Go to the website directly, give a call to the company. When you sign in, it will tell you if something's wrong, just the same way that this text message has. I know it's a pain to have that extra step, but it's the only way to keep yourself safe. Compromised websites. The way these present themselves, and we've all seen them, is a pop-up that covers your whole screen that you cannot minimize, you cannot exit from. There's nothing that you can do to get out of it, is how it appears. Most people don't know that you can hit the Windows key, and that will actually exit you from full screen, where you then can exit from that compromised website. In this example here, we have a message that usually says Microsoft has detected 30 viruses on your computer or 100 viruses. Click this link, call this number. Again, Microsoft does not initiate that support contact. They have no way of monitoring your computer. They don't know if there are viruses on there. So we will know immediately that this is fake. In the case that you get one of these, make sure you reach out to your IT team or person, because a lot of times you'll have a toolbar that's been downloaded on your web browser that actually causes these to happen. So you may not even know it, but you might have accidentally downloaded something. All right, now the big one, phishing emails. Like I said, it's 90% of those data breaches, they start right here. This is a list of the top 8 things to look for. It is not a full list, but if you pay attention to these 8 things in emails, you'll be keeping yourself safe. Before we break them down, there's a story I always like to tell about a hospital in California a few years ago. They had a user, an administrative staff person, who received an email from someone they worked with all the time for many years. When they opened the email, there was an attachment. They opened the attachment. The attachment didn't seem to open, so it appeared that nothing happened. At that point, the user realized, hey, something might be wrong here. They reached out to that person. That person said, yes, my email is compromised. You can go ahead and delete it. The employee of the hospital then just deleted the email, but unfortunately, they didn't report it to their IT department. They thought because something didn't appear to open that their antivirus had got it. Unfortunately, that is not the case. When you open an attachment in your email, you're actually telling your antivirus that you know who the sender is, you trust the sender, open it anyway. So what ended up happening was a program was installed on that computer, which allowed for a backdoor for the hacker to then get into, and they were able to learn basically the entire network schematic. Now, they stayed on that computer for over a year, about a year and a half. They waited for a long holiday weekend, and then they struck. They encrypted that computer, and if you know anything about encryption, when that happens, not only is a computer that gets encrypted, but it's also any device connected to that computer, which includes map drives and then any computers that are connected to those map drives. So basically, instantly, the entire hospital was then locked. Patients' lives were at stake. There was no way to get back into these files. They would try to pull from their backups. Unfortunately, the hacker was on the computer for so long that they were older than any backup this hospital had. Backups do not go over a year. Offsite backups may in some cases, but generally speaking, it's 2 weeks, a month at most. Anytime they would pull data, it would instantly become encrypted again, and there was nothing they could do but pay the Bitcoin to unlock those files. Now, luckily, this hacker gave them the code to unlock the files. In most cases now, we find they don't give you the code even if you pay. With the tensions around the world, specifically Russia, what they're trying to do in most cases is you may pay and that's great, but they're really trying to cripple infrastructure. They're not looking for a payout. They're looking to hurt companies. Larger companies tend to have cybersecurity insurance that can pay for those, but if you're a smaller company, a lot of that, you cannot afford that downtime. So you want to make sure you're very careful about what you're opening. So what should we look out for? We should look out for these 8 things. Number 1, legit companies don't request your sensitive information via email. This is always the case and should be the case with you and your company. Nobody should ever be sending that PII, that private identifiable information, through regular email. It is against both state and federal law to do that. The only ways you can send PII are through secured email, through faxing, or over the phone. We never want to send this stuff through regular email. Number 2, legit companies usually call you by your name. This is mostly true. It's not always true, but most companies tend to personalize their emails. If an email starts "to whom it may concern," "dear sir or madam," "hello," sort of a red flag should go up a little bit that something may not be right here. Number 3, legit companies have domain emails. Well, what does that mean? Well, your domain email is everything after the @ symbol. So in my case, my name is Ryan. My email is rsarvia@wtgtech.com. So my domain email address is @wtgtech.com. If I were to send you an email, it should not be coming from a Google, from an Outlook, from a Yahoo, anything other than my rsarvia@wtgtech.com. Number 4, legit companies know how to spell. I'm the world's worst speller. I never catch spelling mistakes. I have Grammarly on my Outlook because it's embarrassing how awful I am at it. If you are much smarter than I am and can catch these things, and you see those spelling errors, basically every time you see them, it's going to be a fake email. Number 5, legit companies don't force you to their website. When someone sends you an email, more often than not, the information required is going to be in that email. They won't redirect you to another website. The only time you might see that is if someone's sending you a secure email. When that happens, we want to stop and ask ourselves, has this person ever sent me a secure email like this before? If the answer is no, we need to find their number online. Even if it's someone in your office, walk down to their office, confirm verbally on the phone or in person that it's legitimate before you follow that link. Number 6, legit companies don't send unsolicited attachments. This is pretty much always true. If another company you work with has always sent you Word documents, and today they decided to send you an Excel sheet, unfortunately, the world we live in is we cannot trust that. Even if it's the person, the next cube, the next office, the next building over that we've talked to every day for the last 25 years, we cannot trust that email. We need to talk to them first. Number 7, legit companies' links match legitimate URLs. And all that means is if Google or Adobe, and I have some examples coming up, send you an email, the link they've provided you to get to their website should read www.google.com or www.adobe.com. If the sender of the email doesn't match the link provided, it is fake. And lastly, number 8, ACH change request. For those who don't know what an ACH change request is, this is banking information. And really this applies to any payment method. If anyone is requesting ACH, credit card, debit card through regular email, we have to stop what we're doing immediately, confirm this person's identity. It is 99 times out of 100 fake. If it is legitimate, we have to remind that person that it is illegal to send this information through regular email. In fact, we should only be sending payment methods over the phone and calls that we've placed ourselves, not someone calling us. We need to make sure when money's involved, we're very careful about how it's changing hands. So these are some tech support scams. The one on the left here is PayPal. The one on the right is from Microsoft. Let's start with PayPal. So in this case, it says our PayPal account's been locked. We need to log into the account to fix it. Now, before we do anything in this email, we want to check the email sender. Where do you find that? Well, it's at the top left here. So the email sender is broken into two parts, the nickname and the email. The nickname we can see here is service@international.paypal.com. Well, that sounds very official and very legitimate. Unfortunately, nicknames can be made to be anything. You can make it Santa Claus, you can make it Bill Belichick. The nickname means nothing on any email that you see. It's just to try to help our view of the emails as they come in. You always want to double check the actual sender. That's much harder to fake. So the actual sender is service.epaypal@outlook.com. So we have two things. One, even I caught the spelling error here. ePay with an I. That's wrong. It's fake. But the domain email is @outlook.com. If PayPal sent me an email, it should be coming from paypal.com. This example on the right, unusual sign-in activity from somewhere else in the world, another country, very scary looking. They're hoping that you sort of just panic into hitting review recent activity. Before we do that, we have to remind ourselves, Microsoft never reaches out to us first. This doesn't happen. There are solutions that you can put in place, some solutions that monitor if you have an Office 365 cloud, when people log in from another country, they would alert your IT team. It does not come to the user. So the other thing we can always look out for is the email itself. The nickname, yeah, Microsoft team, that looks kind of legitimate, but the sender is no reply msteam2@outlook.com. Kind of junk in the front there, and the domain email is @outlook.com. It's a random Outlook email. It's not coming from Microsoft. In these two examples, it's an infected attachment or link that you've opened from your email. So right off the bat, number one, if you open something in an email, you follow a link in an email, even if you don't give information away, remember that if you click that link, you are susceptible to something having been what's known as silent installed on your computer. So if you click a link, you follow a link, you open an attachment, even if it appears nothing has happened, you need to let someone know right away. All right, so now we've opened it. We're already in Pandora's box here. We're at the website, we think. But if we come to a website that's asking for an email and a password, or really any information you have to fill in, make sure you stop and take a look at the URL. If this was really Google, we'd be at google.com. This is a bunch of random characters. This is junk. The same in the example for Adobe here. Maybe in this example, we got an email that said, hey, your Adobe account's been locked. Follow the link to reset your password. Before doing that, make sure your URL is taking you where you think it's taking you. In either of these examples, if you give away your email and your password, make sure that you reset that password everywhere. Most people tend to only use 1 to 3 passwords for basically everything in their lives. We recommend against that. You really shouldn't be doing that. This is the reality of IT currently. People can't remember 25 passwords. It's a big ask to have that. So most people have about 1 to 3. So if you give away that password at any point, remember, you have to change it everywhere you have that password saved. Make it more unique, make it completely different, and change it everywhere. In this example, someone has opened a Word document with macros. So number one, again, if you open the document, even if nothing appears to happen, you close out of this without enabling any of those macros, let your IT team or person know, because something may have been installed silently. Microsoft tends to not trust us as the user, which is sort of good, especially in this scenario. When you open that document, it said, hey, there's a macro here. It's disabled. Are you sure you want to run it? if ever you get something like this, basically every time it's going to be fake. So call the person, confirm it's real before you enable that content, because really anything could happen to your computer if you enable it. In these two examples, we have a Facebook, we have a YouTube. I think we all know that if you receive something on Facebook you're not expecting, even from a friend, if it's a random attachment, a random picture, we're not going to open it. You're going to call that friend, hey, I just got this thing. Is it real? More often than not, you're going to say, hey, I didn't send that. I must have got hacked. I got to reset my password. On the right, this is kind of a two-parter. We've clicked a link somewhere, or we've been redirected somewhere to what we think is YouTube. We'll check that URL. That's not YouTube. The second portion is a pop-up. Now, most of us tend to ignore pop-ups when they happen. You really shouldn't do that. You should understand what the pop-up is, and if you don't, let your IT team know. People have a tendency to exit out or hit cancel or hit yes, unfortunately, without even really realizing what they're saying yes to. Even if you cancel or exit out, you should still let somebody know, because there might be a toolbar you've accidentally downloaded to your web browser without even realizing it. In this example, it's specifically LinkedIn, both the LinkedIn website and an email. In both cases, if you follow the link, you might get a page like this. If you get a page like this, which we'll go over in a second, we want to know, that we're not going to give away any information. But before we get that far, let's take a look at both of these. In the first example here, it's LinkedIn directly. Wells Fargo has reached out to me through LinkedIn. Now that's kind of strange. They shouldn't be doing that. They should be reaching out to me in a different way. Whether it be through email, whether it be call. And in both of those cases, again, we want to make sure that we're not technically trusting that, but if we think it might be legitimate, we go to Wells Fargo on our own. So in this example, it says your account's been limited with this because of a personal security key. Follow that link. So before we follow that link, we should take a look at that link. Does that link say it's going to Wells Fargo? No, it's cabinetenigma.com, and it redirects to this page. In the second example that we have here, it's to our regular email. Now, right away, that reply, that not interested, it looks a little strange. This should throw the antenna up that something's not quite right here. Let's look at that URL, cabinetenigma.com/Wells Fargo. That's not wellsfargo.com, it's junk. We also now know we can check out the email. In mail, hit reply at linkedin.com. So even though that nickname says Wells Fargo, we know we can set that to anything at any time. Is the email coming from Wells Fargo? No, it's coming from LinkedIn. It's junk. Now, in both of these cases, this person clicked the link and they got a page like this. So again, anytime you get a page where it's asking you for information, you need to stop right away. Something is probably wrong. Do not give away passwords. They're not really ever going to be this obvious. They're not going to ask for your mother's maiden name, your driver's license expiration date. They're never going to be quite this obvious, so we have to be pretty vigilant. Again, if you follow a link in either one of these emails, even if you don't give away information, we've got to scan your computer and make sure nothing's been installed. In these two cases, we have a situation where someone is impersonating the CEO of a company. Maybe you have Office 365. Office 365 is the largest single application in the world because it is the largest email provider in the world. It is the most hacked application in the world. So at some point, maybe someone within your organization had given away their password. When that happens, something people do not think about is the address book. If anyone within your company gives away their information, the hackers then have your address book. They know who's in what position, and they know who to talk to for these scams. So in this case, someone is impersonating the CEO, Jay. Jay has reached out to someone within the accounting department. Can we send out a wire today? Kindly find out the bank cutoff time. Money is involved. Right away, we stop. We're going to go to Jay's office. We're going to give Jay a call. We're going to shoot Jay an email. We're going to talk to our manager. We're going to do something to confirm this is legit first and not respond within this email, because as we now know, sending any kind of payment information through regular email is illegal. In the second example here, someone's claiming to be the CEO and asking for you to buy gift cards. A lot of companies will buy gift cards if you've had a good quarter or a good month, or it's getting near a holiday. If anyone ever asks you to get gift cards, again, money's involved. We need to confirm this with someone else to make sure it's real. In the case that they ask you to scratch the back, it is always fake. There is no reason for anyone to have the codes on the back of those cards. Once you do that, the card will be drained of value and you will lose your money. The only person who should ever have the code on the back is the person about to use that card. Smartphone applications. Do not install applications on company cell phones unless it's been approved by your management and it's been vetted properly by your IT department. It's very easy to get fake applications on both the App Store, the Play Store, and especially on third-party websites. Those are not checked by anybody. So an example of just 200 malicious apps that you found in the Google Play Store that Google found, after they removed them, they were able to determine that just those 200 apps were downloaded 10 million separate times to 10 million separate devices. This stuff is very easy to fall for. So just be sure of what you're downloading. Apple's a little bit more tightly secured in their app store, but they are still very susceptible to having fake apps be posted. People tend to think those iPhones are safer. They're not. They're just as likely to be taken over as an Android device. Updating your smartphone operating system. Most of us are guilty of this. If there is an update on your phone that's available, it needs to be installed right away. This is a little bit different than when you're dealing with computers or servers. With a computer or a server, a lot of times IT will wait to download those updates, maybe a couple of weeks, a month, 6 months, maybe a year. And the reason for that is Microsoft does not test those with third-party applications, whether it's QuickBooks or Sage and Jonas. They're not testing with those. They can't test with those. So they release the updates into the wild, and then as things break and get reported to them, they patch them over time. So usually we'll wait on doing those brand new updates. When it comes to your phone, it's different. Your phone releases updates when they've found security flaws or bugs within the code. They need to be done right away to patch those problems so that your phone doesn't get taken over. Before you're updating your operating system, make sure your phone is charged to at least 70%. And if you can, leave it plugged in. You don't want your phone to die during an operating system update. If that happens, you have a very nice $1,000 paperweight that's fully broken. Make sure to back up your files. I cannot tell you how many times an operating system update has finished for an iPhone or Android, and then once it's finished, half the contacts are missing or the text messages are gone. Make sure that if you have an iPhone, you're using the iCloud account to back up your device. And then if you're using your Android, you have a email set up to run that backup for you. Make sure your device is compatible with the operating system upgrade. Your phone will tell you if it's not. If you have a new operating system update that your phone's just too old to download, unfortunately, you need to replace the phone. You cannot use it, especially in a business environment. It is unsafe to do so. So if you're carrying that iPhone 5 or that BlackBerry, it's got to go. Delete apps you no longer use. And then also this applies to older documents you may have downloaded or things in general you've downloaded on the phone that you don't really need anymore. It's good practice to maybe once a year, maybe twice a year, go through the phone and delete everything that you don't need. The reason for that is base cell phones tend to be pretty small and operating system updates are very large. So you may find you've had a phone for a year or two and you're running out of space. So if you keep up with that regularly, you'll be fine through the end of the life for that phone. So in summary, if you think you've been hacked or you hit a bad website, you have to let an IT person know right away. Again, we've seen everything there is to see a million times. You're not going to shock us, not going to show us something new. It's not a matter of why'd you do this? We don't care about that. We care about device security and network security. The quicker we know about it, the quicker we can make sure any open issues are resolved. 2, always assume anything new or different is fake when it comes to an email. Again, unfortunately, it's just the reality of business now. Anything at all, even from someone you work with every single day who works down the hallway from you. If something new is sent to you in email, you have to call that person, find their number online, find their company directory, and talk to them on the phone and make sure it's legitimate. Be careful what sites you're using and where you're clicking, social media or otherwise. If you're on a news site, Don't click the obvious scam website redirection links at the bottom. Don't use Google Images to download photos. Be careful about ads that you're clicking on within a Facebook or a LinkedIn or an Instagram. Most of these are adware or spyware, so you got to be very careful about where you're clicking. And lastly, make sure you're always updating your smartphone as soon as those updates are available, and only download approved applications. So at this point, that is the general cybersecurity training. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, Ryan at Wright Technology. I know I've said my email a couple of times. I'd be happy to answer any and all questions. My email again is rsarvia@wtgtech.com. That's rsarvia@wtgtech.com. Thank you very much for your time. Have a good day.